What is up, everyone, and welcome to another special edition of The Danny Show. I'm your host, Dan Cody, giving you commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. Thank you so much for joining. Before I get started with why I'm here, big news. The Game, Triple H, has been inducted, or should I say, will be inducted into this year's Hall of Fame of 2025 in one of my favorite cities, Las Vegas, Nevada. So that's the first of good news. But the reason why I'm here today is January the 30th, I believe. Yes, January the 30th. And on this day, we celebrate the man, the big time, Becky Lynch. And of course, before I get started with that, let me remind you that part one of my top 10 favorite matches with Becky Lynch is already up. This is part two. So let's get into it. And we will start with WrestleMania 39 when Becky Lynch teamed up with Lita and Trish Stratus, who both had a very heroic entrance to take on the first three members of Damage Control before Asuka was added. This was the original trio of Bayley, Kairi Sane, and Dakota Kai. No, yeah, it was Dakota. No, I apologize. It was Bayley, Io Sky, and was which one? Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai. Okay, I get all these Kais and stuff mixed up a little bit, so bear with me. But this was a women's tag team match that happened at WrestleMania 39. Trish Stratus pulling out her old Hollywood 21 2005 attire to wrestle. In the end, it was Bayley who took the manhandle slam from the second rope from Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch would get the pinfall victory for the team. Next at number two, we go a couple of years back in time to Becky Lynch in a triple threat match at Saudi Arabia versus Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. First of all, credit to these women for wrestling fully clothed in what was probably 100-degree weather, because Saudi Arabia gets hot around that time. I looked at the weather. It's hot as the devil over there most of the times. It's still a fun place to visit. It still looks like it may be a fun place to visit, but I know that it gets really hot there. So if you are interested in going to the Middle Eastern places for vacation, bring lots of cold water. And I know they needed lots of cold water because they covered up, because over there they are very modest towards the women. So they want their women to behave in a very modest way. So I know they were hot as fire over there, and I know they were sweating beyond understanding. But nonetheless, they still managed to have a great match. Bianca hoisted Sasha Banks in midair with one hand, but in the end, it was Becky Lynch with a roll-up, which was a very popular move to use in 2021, that won the match and retained her women's championship. Speaking of Bianca, we go to number 8. We have Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair in a SummerSlam redemption match for Bianca. And this took place at SummerSlam 2022, Nashville, Tennessee, and Bianca's home state. Of course, credit to Becky Lynch for taking the KOD on the outside and beating the 10 count. However, despite being tough and giving her best efforts, it was not her night to win back the women's championship. Bianca would win this match. However, Becky would show a great ounce of respect for the EST in defending her with the return of Bayley, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai, who would be known as the trio of Damage Control. Number 7, we have the Women's War Games match of 2022. As I mentioned, Damage Control had been getting on the nerves of both Bianca and putting Becky Lynch out of action. However, thankfully, Becky Lynch returned just in time, and she was able to stand with the likes of Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and Mia Yim would take on the team of Damage Control with extra members such as our honorary members for one night being Nikki Cross and of course everyone's favorite now, Rhea Bloody Ripley. However, Becky Lynch, fun fact, this opened up Survivor Series and Becky Lynch would win the match, putting Io Sky and Dakota Kai through a table with a leg drop off the top of the steel cage for the team. Next on this list, at number 6, we have Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus at Payback of 2023 in a steel cage match, opening up the show. And let's talk about something that happened before the match that was actually funny and very entertaining. Of course, there was a scene where one of the fans was jaw jacking with Trish Stratus because Trish was a villain. And one of the fans said, "You're going to lose to Rebecca," which is Becky Lynch's real name. Trish Stratus walked over to the fan and told the fan to shut the heck up. And by heck, I mean something that I can't say. But nonetheless, that was very funny. In fact, a lot of Trish fans were like, "Hey, she can tell me to shut the heck up any day." I know Jerry Lawler probably got turned on by this. Some people get turned on by mean women. I don't get it. But in any event, I don't necessarily understand that part. But in any event, I know Jerry Lawler, who was crazy for Trish Stratus, would probably say, "JR, if she told me to shut the heck up, I'd glue my lips shut, JR." I'm sure you would, King. I'm sure you would. But in any, that's not my best Jerry Lawler impersonation. Just humor. But nonetheless, it was a great steel cage match. Trish Stratus pulling out a move from Victoria, the Widow's Peak, and Becky Lynch returned the favor with going for a twist of fate because, fun fact, the first women's steel cage match was Victoria versus Lita. So both of those women paid tribute to them, which I thought was cool. Zoe Stark, who is not related to Iron Man, interfered in this match, and despite all of that, Becky Lynch fought back, went for a Superman handle slam, and won the match. It was almost a passing of the torch. Next on this list, later, sometime around that very same time in the fall, we have Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton. Now, SmackDown Women's Champion, it is indeed Tiffy time. But at this time, it was in Bex T No Mercy Extreme Rules match for the NXT Women's Championship. And Becky Lynch had an attire that paid tribute to her friends, her family, and of course, the late Bray Wyatt. We saw Cactus Bex with the 2x4 and barbed wire. We saw tables. We saw swantons. But in the end, we even saw broken Barbie dolls. What the helicopter? But nonetheless, in the end, Becky Lynch would win this match and retain the NXT Women's Championship. Next on this list at number 4, we go back to the War Games, Survivor Series War Games. Before I talk about that, let me give you a funny story. There is a short that shows Becky Lynch taking a call from somebody and refusing to continue conversation, which was very funny. Some of you have probably seen the video where Becky Lynch said, "What do you want?" "No." How to say goodbye to your boyfriend. That's what I would call that meme, is how to say goodbye to your ex. When your ex calls, "What do you want?" "No." But in any event, moving forward, it was actually Charlotte and Becky Lynch would take the call. It would be Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, and Shotzi Blackheart taking on the team of what was once a trio, now a multiple ally member of Damage Control. And the fourth member this time is Asuka. And so they would fight on. And one of the things that was special about this one was that Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair buried the hatchet and went on to win the match after Bayley was took a manhandle slam from Becky through the table and Becky won the match. Fun fact, once again, Becky Lynch was the opening act, but it wasn't a boring opening. Every time Becky opens the show, it's an exciting opening. Let's just point that out. Big Time Bex may as well be called the big time opening of the show. Next, we have a main event match at Raw, March 18th of 2024, a last woman standing match for the to be the number one contender for the Women's World Championship. And this was between Nia and Becky. Thankfully, Becky won this match because, much like now, we don't need to keep seeing Nia and Rhea go at it. It was good when it lasted, but don't overuse it. I'm just saying. But moving forward, this was still a good match. Nia fell on her butt again, but I only say her butt because I don't want to be profane. But Nia fell on her butt. We saw some tables breaking. We even saw a manhandle slam, which is a female version of the rock bottom, through the announce table, and a leg drop onto Nia through the... No, the manhandle slam was through an actual table. The leg drop was through the announce table, and it was through that Becky Lynch would win the last woman standing match and become contender for Rhea Ripley, who came out to have a face-to-face with her at the end of the night. That brings us to number 2. We have Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 40 of last year. It was a losing effort for Becky Lynch, but it was still a great match. Becky Lynch fought, I don't know if she had a severe cold or severe fever, but she fought under some sort of severe health condition and still managed to put on a 4+ star match at WrestleMania, opening the show with Rhea Ripley. Again, Becky Lynch is the women's should be called the big time opening Bex. This is what we're going to call her. Big time opening Bex. Because she always opens the show the best. Next at number 1. At number 1, we have Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair, who will return to the Royal Rumble this year. But my question is, do you think Becky Lynch will return this year at the Royal Rumble? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I hope she does. It will be a star-studded women's Royal Rumble. We already got a star-studded men's Royal Rumble. If Becky Lynch comes back to the Royal Rumble and Jade Cargill comes back to the Royal Rumble, this will be one of the most star-studded Royal Rumbles ever. It'll be awesome. But let's go into this number 1 match. Let me just pick on Bubba Ray Dudley for a second, because Bubba Ray Dudley, how do I say this in halfway sound PG? Let's say Bubba Ray is experiencing some stimulation in his Bubba pants watching this match. Because if you know Bubba Ray, you know he loved to put women through tables. So he was probably being stimulated very well watching this match. This match was awesome, but it involved some tables, and so that really got Bubba Ray off. Just kidding. But in any event, this match was so great. We saw tables, we saw kendo sticks, we even saw chairs. Oh my. But nonetheless, this match was during the era where Becky Lynch was supposed to be heel, but the fans made her face and made Charlotte heel. It's one of those scenarios where the fans decide your fate instead of you, or instead of a perverted boss who likes to crap on people. Thank God Triple H is such a better boss than his dad-in-law. Ugh. But in any event, moving forward, this match was almost 5 stars. It was awesome. Last woman standing match for the women's championship. We saw tables break. Charlotte was determined to break that table with a swanton, but it didn't work the first time, so she tried again. Another table broke on the outside, and it wasn't until she got powerbombed through a table on the outside where she stayed down. I almost thought she was going to get up at the end, but she couldn't get up in time to answer the 10 count, and Becky Lynch would win this match and retain. So that's my top 10 part 2 list. Let me know which is your favorite. I really hope Becky Lynch returns at this year's Royal Rumble. It'll be awesome. I know she's busy being a mother, so you can't fault her for that. But in the end, I would love to see her return. It would be an awesome Royal Rumble match. It will make my night special. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm your host, Dan Cody. That's all the time I have for you today. And congratulations, Triple H is now in the Hall of Fame. Today is the day of Becky Lynch. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you. You finish the statement.